I'm just waiting for this to start up. Okay. Hi everybody. So I just got out of the shower and the whole time I was thinking, I really should just talk about how I got into coloring, what I'm all about, and I kind of wanted to clear up some things about why I made my Patreon page. I know like a lot of these kind of crowdfunding pages get a little bit of a negative stigma because, there's a lot of scams out there. GoFundMe is filled with all kinds of scams like that. People taking advantage of others for their money. So, real quick, let's just start with, connecting with me. And basically, I started coloring last year, back in April, and I got my first coloring book. It was Secret Garden, and I found it on Facebook. And my friend Lauren, she had posted an article about Johanna Basford, and I read her stuff, and I saw like how they have in articles like little like clip art or little images of like what's in her book. So they were talking about Secret Garden, and then the fact that Enchanted Forest had just come out. It had just released that February. So she was getting a lot of publicity around the time, like March, April. And so after seeing all her pictures, I was like, oh my god, this looks so cool. And I never really stopped coloring, I guess. I always did it. Like as a kid, obviously they never had these kinds of books, and I didn't obviously know about them until last year. But, I colored when my husband was deployed. Me and my friend would go to Walmart and get some crayons and coloring books, and I would color for a few hours every once in a while and kind of just pass time and maybe forget about the fact that he was deployed and gone. And it's definitely a huge stress reliever for a lot of people, and, especially people with chronic pain, and helps relieve that anxiety and makes you forget about all the stresses of your life. And I found that really neat. Like everything just kind of melted away. And so when I saw these kinds of books that came out, I was really excited, and I kind of, really hit hard with like the addiction, I guess. We're all kind of addicted. It's kind of sad. We can't go into a store without buying a book or a pencil or seeing which pens or whatever. But when I find something that I like, I really go get into it. So I see this as not really a trend as some people might think it will be. I mean, it kind of is. I can see the production of coloring books stopping after a while and kind of, falling to the wayside, and not a lot of new ones coming out. Like, I feel like Amazon's just pumping out new books, like 5 books a month. I swear to God, every time I go on Amazon, there's something new. But I feel like that's going to slow down after a little while. But for some people, this is how people cope. And it's really not a fad for some people, and it'll continue to go on. And so when I got my first few books, there was a book that had come out, but it was only available in the UK, and I really wanted it. So I decided to contact the publisher and, see if there's a way that I could somehow get it. And my husband had mentioned before that when I had started having like a big influence, I had just made my first group. It was formerly known as Coloring Addicts, and then it changed to my blog name, my former blog, which was Color Your World. And now it's what it is now. It's Kourtney's Coloristas. And I had gotten a lot of, popularity from that group, and my husband had told me, you should really start blogging about this, like make it a movement. And I was like, well, it's already really big. Like, I feel like I'm not really going to do anything different than what's already going on. There's hundreds of groups and thousands of people, but this was kind of like in the beginning. So it really wasn't like it was now, like where there's like so many Facebook groups. You type in color and like 80 different groups start to come up with the first word color. And, there wasn't that many reviews on books. And, Amazon, they do the whole peek inside thing now. But before, they didn't really have pictures inside. And I didn't really want to buy anything that I didn't know what I was getting. So that's what made me think, I could help people, guide them in buying, products. Products came later, but it was mostly just books in the beginning. Um, you know, Making sure, they're getting good quality paper, because I was a paper snob. If it wasn't good paper, I didn't want the book. So I started with just that one book. That book ended up not even getting to me like till 5 months later. And so it's funny how the one book started it, but I had ended up reviewing like hundreds of books before that first book that started it all even came. So that's kind of how it started off, just, wanting to give people a resource in, the quality of a book before they went and bought it. Because I couldn't even tell you how many times I've, spent $7, $8, sometimes even $10 on a book, and it came and I ended up hating it because, it was a self-published book and it was really shoddy line work, or the paper wasn't that great, and so like my pencils would rip up the paper, my markers bled through and ruin the image, and so I didn't want people to have to go through that. So that's why I started doing that. But what happened was it started getting really tedious, and books were just pouring in, and even publishers, they would send me a book, and because they had my address, they would just send it through, but not think to ask me if I wanted to even do it. They would just I would get a package in the mail. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm reviewing this. And it started to become a chore. And I immediately knew when I started to resent coloring, something that I really truly loved to do, that it was time to stop. And so I still kind of review. What I do now is I review books and products and stuff, but things that I want to review. So what I do is, if there's like Millie Murata or Johanna Basford, any books that like I love, feel really passionate about, or something new that's coming out that really seems like it catches my eye and seems really interesting, then I'll go forward and speak with the publisher, or if it's a publisher that I already worked with, and they're really good about just sending it off to me. But now I mostly just, I do what I want to do. So it's not as many reviews as much. I like doing, showing off like my books that I have. Like that doesn't bother me. Like I like making videos of flip throughs, and I'm actually trying to do more of those. Just flipping through my own books so that people can see. Hang on one second. I'm trying to see if there's 8 people watching. If you hear me talking just randomly in this video, just because I'm just talking to the people commenting. Hi, Hannah. Hannah says, hi, Kourtney. I love coloring also. I have depression, and it helps me. Even when my husband's away, it helps with the separation. I totally agree with you 100%. It definitely helps with that. My husband's on a submarine, so they go out fairly often. And I've been lucky to have him on shore duty the past year, when this all kicked off. And now that he's back on the boat and we're up in Maine now, he's not going out right now. He'll be going out again in about like a year and a half, 2 years. That's when the boat's just getting fixed right now. So it's a matter of when he does start going underway and deploying, it's the separation's really, it hits you for a few weeks, and after a while you get used to it, but it's still really hard. So I feel like that's where really coloring's going to help me. It's going to help me with the separation. It's going to help me with, the fact that he's gone, and it'll kind of like waste time, or kind of make time go faster, because I know when I'm coloring, I'll start coloring and it'll be like noon, and then I'll realize that it's starting to get dark out, and I'm like, holy crap, how long have I been in here? So like it kind of makes you lose yourself almost. And Hannah, you also said you had depression. I actually suffer from depression as well. I'm actually kind of a person that's in the closet about it. I don't really talk about it. I've had it for a few years now, and I actually, me and my husband have been married for 3 years, and he actually just found out about it later last year. And it's just something I don't really like confessing to people, but I am now, so it's kind of relieving to say it. But it definitely helps with that. So, Hannah, I totally agree with you. So the other thing is that so sorry about that. I think I got like kicked off. I don't really know what happened. Wirecast just like kicked me out of my blog or my blog, my phone. It's at a higher rate now, so I think it was just a lag. Um, what was I saying? Oh, so I started wanting to just color for me. I wanted to color what I wanted. Um, I had books sitting on my shelf that like I had bought over time because even though I was getting all these books for review, some of them weren't really ones that I wanted to review, and all these cool books were coming out and I really wanted them. So my husband, of course, like being the amazing man he is, let me be a book and pencil and pen connoisseur, and pretty much like let me get whatever I wanted within our means. And you know they were all collecting dust, and it was like I just spent all this money on all this stuff and I can't even use it because I have to test out these pencils, or I have to make a video on this book or write up a blog review on this book. And the books were just piling up and it was kind of getting a little daunting. And so I like now that I can do things at my own pace. I don't have a deadline. I don't have the thoughts in my head like, oh my god, like I've had this book for a month now. I really need to get a blog on this. But life happens, and I got two kids, two little girls. They're brilliant, and they take up a lot of my time. So the only time I really get to myself is one when my husband's home, which now that he's not on shore duty anymore is going to be few and far days in between. And by the time they're in bed, that's time that I want to spend with my husband. And some nights I do come up to my coloring room, my studio, I guess you can say, and do what I gotta do. I almost see it as me working nights, but that's like my downtime. And I'm exhausted by like 8 p.m. and that's when the kids go to bed. The kids go to bed around like 7:38. And so I'm just exhausted, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't feel like reviewing this book right now. Like I just want to sit on the couch and watch some TV with my husband. And so that's like another thing, and that's what's kind of gonna lead me into why after a year of doing reviews and getting into product reviews as well. So not even just books, pens, pencils, paints, sharpeners, pastels, you name it, I've reviewed it. And after a year of doing all this, a lot goes into reviewing. And some people probably who've never blogged before just think oh, they just type up a little bit of whatever they want and they post it and that's about it. No, it's a whole lot more than that. You need to get people to read your blog. So what's the point of having a blog if no one's reading it? So I had to start from the bottom. I had to build up a Facebook page, a fan page. I had to kind of advertise in other groups, gain followers, have different social media outlets to post my review links, get traffic to my website. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of man hours and time that, I'm not getting paid for it. So it almost got to the point where it was like, why am I doing all of this and I'm not getting any compensation out of it other than, a free book or some pencils. And so after like a year of doing that for everyone, and I love doing it. I've loved being that guide for people. But after a little while, it's kind of like I need to somehow, as a creator, make a living off of my services. So like I see my services as, bringing you guys new material, new YouTube videos, new content on my blog. Making sure I have, pictures of like my work in progresses. Like I don't have to do all that. Like I don't have, I can just put like a really crappy picture up on my page, but that's not going to get likes, that's not going to get shares, that's not going to get any interest. So like I make sure that, things that I post that are of interest to you, and you know, I make sure that, you guys have plenty of work in progress pictures. And, I'm all about coloring and now, and drawing as well. I've been drawing since I was like 8 years old, and I love drawing animation. I love Disney. And so I actually just recently got into, doing that for other people, because my thing has always been personalizing my books with my own drawing. So I have like one set of my Johanna Basser books, because her books are really fun to add additions to. My one set, I have tons of them. So my one set's all Disney themed, and then my one set's all Alice in Wonderland themed, and my other ones are like vanilla coloring, just like plain old coloring. Like I have themes for all of them, but like my favorite ones are like drawing in them and doing my Disney characters, and those get a lot of interest. So, drawing is another thing that really, takes up a lot of time and effort. And so people started seeing that, and they really wanted me to start doing that for them. So, so now recently, so I have 3 books that I'm working on right now, actually. My friend Jeanette, she's in the UK, doing her Secret Garden, and she has 3 movies, Disney movies, that she wants done with them. So I'm doing hers Lion King themed. I'm doing Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. So I'm doing hers, and I'm doing my friend Jo. She's from Australia, and I have another woman, Sarah, in the UK, who's getting her book done with her favorite characters. And so now I'm doing that service, and yes, I am getting, compensation for that. But, now it's a matter of, I have supplies now that I need to start buying. And, when it comes to like my fans, I have a lot of time goes in making these videos and making tutorials, and figuring out ideas, like new ideas, coming up with different content that's not really out there yet, or somehow doing it differently or better. And so a lot of it's a lot of work, and it takes up a lot of time. And so my Patreon page, which is actually meant for creators and artists and people who, provide for their fans, vloggers, YouTubers, podcasters, those kinds of people, Patreon really helps them, because it allows them to, make a living off of something that they're doing and providing to people. So, me, now that I'm doing more videos, you guys are getting access to my videos and, my tutorials, and, I'll be able to do more of that with help, you know what I mean? So I'll be able to bring you like higher quality videos. And I actually have my Patreon up. So Patreon is way different than a lot of crowdsource funding. And what you do is you set goals for yourself. So you're able to see on my Patreon that, at when I'm making this certain amount of money a month, like, this is what I want to do. And then it's like the next level. And when I make more, this is what I want to do. And so I have my goals. Ooh, my voice cracked a little bit. When I have my goals, my last goal is to make, all my my patrons, when I make my final goal is to eventually be making $1,200 a month. That's like less money than if you were doing a part-time job somewhere. So I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. And it's helping someone achieve their dreams, and that's basically what Patreon's all about. Helping creators and giving them an outlet, and also for the patrons, the people who are supporting these people on Patreon, they get things out of it too. So what happens is, when you pledge a certain amount, you get a reward out of it. So like my rewards are, I'm actually going to be changing some of them. So if you go on my Patreon, you'll see what my rewards are, but I'm actually going to change a couple of them just so that you're getting more out of, what you're pledging. So like you can pledge as little as $2, and then you can from there you can pledge as much as you want. But my levels are 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 50, and 100. But you can always do like 2 or more, 3 or more, 5 or more. So that's how that works. So like I have different levels, and my last level pledge actually is my $100 one, and it says right now what you'll get, but for my $100 pledges, you guys will be able to get one-on-one, like kind of like a tutor, coloring tutor, along with a book. So yeah, like I'm trying to like think of more ways to explain really, because a lot of people are like, oh well, why is this person getting money? And like you'll see on Patreon, there's kind of like some questionable people with Patreons, and there's people like who video game, but like if you think about it, those video gamers bring a lot of people really good tutorials on their games, and it takes a lot of work and time to do that. So like if you're into that, then like support them. But if you're not into coloring, then no, I don't see why you would support me. But if you are, then you can get a lot out of supporting me. And I look at it this way, and Patreon just in general. If you go out to eat and you have a waitress and she provides good service, then you tip her. So I kind of see it like that. It's like a tip jar. So when you'll see me posting more video content. You'll see me posting more on my blog, more entertainment for you guys, like coloring wise. It just basically like bringing you all what you want in the coloring community, and that's techniques, different ways to color, different supplies you can use, different books that are coming out, showing you the insides of books, that kind of thing. And it's like that. It's basically just, you're doing a good job, so here's a tip. And, you pledge for me. And, you don't, that's what I was trying to say. Like, you don't go out to eat without not expecting to tip your waitress. So I'm providing a service. So it's almost like, and I've built my way up to this point over the past year and have done a lot of work. And so now it's a matter of, I think it's time that I've gotten some compensation for all the things that I do, and it's not begging for money. Like people are out there that say, oh, they just want money, they're beggars. No, that's not it at all. It's we're artists, and we have bills too, and I want to help support my family as well. And we're a very low middle class family. My husband's military. He has a military paycheck. It's not very much. And so I'd like to help as much as possible, contribute. And, this is what I love doing. This is what I'm good at. And with artists, it's hard to get, commission jobs, especially if, like, you're not, affiliated with a company or anything. So, the struggling artists, that's just how it is. So, it helps pay for supplies and, lighting, cameras, recording equipment, things to get themselves out there. So that's basically why I made one. I felt it was due time that, in order to give back, I need some help as well. And I need some support to be able to give you the good content that I want to give you all. So yeah, that's basically it. I want to see if anyone's, I had 12 people watching at a point. Now I have 6 people watching. Let's see. Hannah says, how do you know what to add? I struggle with what to add. And I think she was talking about adding pictures. So Hannah, if you're still watching, basically what I do is I look at the page. And so my favorite thing is drawing Disney characters, because that's just what I like to draw, and that's what I'm good at drawing. I'm good at drawing animation. I'm not really good at drawing realism. I just kind of look at the page, see what kind of things I could add to it that would fit. So let's see. Hang on one second. Let me grab my one book so I can show you. Okay. So, this page in Secret Garden, it's still a work in progress. It's been a work in progress for a while now. So you see how it says, you know, create more topiary shapes. Sorry, topiary shapes. So I immediately thought of the rose topiary. Sorry guys, this keeps closing out. I don't really know what's going on with my app. My app keeps like shutting out on me. Sometimes that, you know, like how that happens with Facebook. It like you're on Facebook and it'll just shut you out. That's what it's doing right now. It's getting kind of annoying. But yeah, so what I did was I just kind of Googled images of Alice in Wonderland and the rose bushes, and this image came up, and I kind of manipulated a little bit the movement of his like feet so that they were placed right, and I kind of just fitted it in. So that's basically like what you have to do. You just have to kind of look at the shape of the image, you know, here's like this. You can basically put whatever you want in here. It's a circle, so it's plenty of blank space, so you can do whatever you want. Pictures like this get a little harder. I don't know if any of you have seen, I actually have a page that is all the way marked like that. It's the acorn page in Enchanted Forest. I did Scrat and Scrat-Tay, I guess that's how you say her name, the lady squirrel in Ice Age. I did them, and let me see if I can find that one, because it's actually really, it'll be easier to explain it if I have it. 1 second. Okay, I have it. Okay, so you can see that I would have had to somehow block off the line work. So that's the kind of thing you have to take into account as well. So what I did was I painted that, and it kind of covered up the lines, the black lines a little bit. But yeah, it's really all about the shape of the page, what's on the page. Just Googling it. That's basically my biggest thing. Google's like my best friend. I Google Disney images and see what I can make work and fit onto the page. Cindy, thank you for that. Cindy says, for me, these live classes and being able to get advice is worth a monthly pledge. And I'm glad you feel that way, because a lot of people wouldn't, because they don't see it as something that, you know, I don't want to sound brash or anything, but just people feel like this kind of stuff should be for free, which it is. YouTube's free. So if I upload a video to YouTube, you know, that's all me. Like, people can watch it. Anyone can watch it. I can't charge a fee. But this is my way of being able to get some sort of compensation for, you know, uploading that video, like bringing you guys more stuff. But I'm also getting something out of it as well, and it's helping me to be able to bring you more stuff. So I'm just glad that, you know, some people feel how Cindy does. That actually just happened. I don't know if anyone knows. My God, guys, I am so sorry. I don't know what's going on with the internet. I feel like it has to be the connection. We're supposed to be getting some snow, so I don't know if it's maybe the weather that's making my Wi-Fi funny. But thank you, Hannah. I'm glad you think it's a good idea. Thank you, Cindy. I really appreciate it too. Cindy says, Hannah says it's a good idea, and Cindy says that it takes a lot of my personal time to help newbies, and that she appreciates it. And that's why I really only look at it, that's my best analogy, is it's a tip jar. And it's a monthly thing, and it's not, you're putting your money towards something that, is going to continue to happen as long as, people want it. And that's the thing about Patreon. You can cancel your pledge at any time. You don't need my permission. You can just stop. Like, say you find yourself in a, tough financial position, we're in those positions all the time. A lot of people are nowadays. And I totally respect that. I'm not breaking anyone's arm to give me your money. You know what I mean? If you're able to give, then give. If not, then, that's totally okay. And that's the thing, like, I'm not going to ever know if someone can't, because that's the beauty of it. If you want to support, you support. If you don't have to. But if you do support, you do get something out of it. So, you're not just throwing your money away to somebody and that's it. Kind of like GoFundMe. Like, that's how GoFundMe works. Like, you donate, but it's like a one-time donation usually. This allows someone to make a living off of what they're doing. But now, granted, fees are taking off. So, if you can go on my Patreon page, you'll see my Patreon page, by the way, is patreon.com/Kourtney Farrow. It's just my name. If you go on my Patreon page, you'll see that it's a really weird number of $10.79. But I have one patron of $2 and I have another patron of $10. So you would think that would be $12. No, Patreon has to, make their due too. So they take a portion of your earnings or people's pledges a month, and then what happens is I get paid on the first of the month every month. And once that first payment clears is when I would send you your reward. And now you don't get rewarded until the $10 level. I think it's $10. Hang on, guys, it's starting up. So I've literally been talking for so long. I have no idea when that ended. Oh my god, this is getting so annoying. I'm so sorry. I don't even remember what I was saying last. Okay, well, since I probably lost some of you, I'll basically just wrap it up with, if you would love to support me on Patreon, I'll put a link in the archived video. But it's www.patreon, patreon.com /Kourtney Farrow, and it'll bring up my dashboard, and you can pledge whatever amount you'd like, and any amount is appreciated. Anything helps. And I'm hoping, to reach my goal. I know it's going to probably take a little while. I'm hoping to reach my goal, maybe within the year would be nice. And if it happens sooner, then great. But I just hope that it gets a little bit more of a positive feedback now that I've kind of explained why I have a Patreon. Ooh, my baby's crying. She's not happy. Luckily Nick's down there. So yeah, if there's anything else you'd like to ask me, I have a little bit of time. If you wanted to ask me anything, you can. Oh, I see that. Okay. Pam. Hi, Pam. If you're still on here, thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. And Hannah asked if they lost me. No, you did for a little bit. I don't even know how long you lost me. I can't believe I was talking so much, and then I looked at my screen and I wasn't even recording. It keeps kicking me out. I don't know why it's doing that. It's getting really obnoxious. But let me see. If you're just coming on watching, you can backtrack up to 4 hours, and you can kind of it's almost like a rewind function, so that you can see what we've talked about. I'm going to be on here for a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna have to get off and tend to the kiddos. I'll take, hi Kathy. While she got checking if it's 10, and then saw about the little one crying. Sorry, I was just reading comments. So I wanted to let you all know what next week's coloring session was. So the next Coloring 101 class is going to be shading, highlighting, and creating a casted shadow around an object to make it almost look like it's popping off the page. Almost looks like it's 3D. And it's mostly, I'm going to actually do it in one of my books. I'm going to do it in Enchanted Forest, and I'm going to do it on a leaf page because like leaves are like the easiest thing to make look like they're popping off the page. And we'll kind of go over the differences on highlighting, shading, how you can determine your light source and what areas should be lighter and what areas should be kind of the darkest. It's really easy to tell on picture. Sorry again. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. This is getting so frustrating. I don't know why this is doing this. Hannah. Hannah says, how did you manage to do scrat and scrate, not sure on spelling, with no black lines showing? Okay, so what I basically did was, here, I'll hold it up real quick for you, so that it's easier to show you. Okay. So, basically, why you can't see any of the line work is I did a layer of a white gouache, I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's gouache paint. It's almost like watercolor, but it's like an acrylic mix. It's more opaque. It's not transparent, but you add a little bit of water to it. Sorry, I have the hiccups. And I did a whitewash, and then I did a second layer of that, and it kind of eventually hid the black lines with the white undertone. So I did a white acrylic, gouache paint wash base, and then went over that after it dried. I gave it like a few hours to dry just so I didn't like mush up the paper with my pencils, and then did all this in pencil. And the same thing up here. Just the whole entire thing I did a white base with. So that's how you can get rid of line work, is using either acrylic or gouache, or any watercolor isn't really going to work because it's transparent. Anything like that. Sometimes people use a white uni pen. I think it's a uni sign-on or whatever it is. Those white pens. Or they use a Sakura Jelly Roll pen. But they don't really work as well because once they dry, they kind of comes through again. To me, the white paint worked the best. You just have to be really careful because you can either buckle the paper or feather it up with a lot of water if it gets, or if there's too much liquid on the page. And if there's too much on there, then you can't really get your pencil to go over it. So you have to be really careful to make sure it's a very thin, opaque wash. But it's the easiest to me, and that was my first time doing it, and it turned out really well. So I feel like if I kept doing it, I might get better at it. I'm actually thinking about doing a class on painting too in your book. So yeah, is there anything else? Kathy asked, what page have you decided? Kathy, it's definitely going to be in Enchanted Forest. Let me see if I can find like a good page that would be really good for creating shadows under stuff. Hang on one second. Because I have an idea. Probably like a page like this where that's my little sticky note. Where it's just leaves. And it's really easy to cast shadows off of objects like that. So that's probably what we'll do, a page like that with just leaves. Not really like an object page. Sorry, my eye really itches. Oh my goodness, sorry. I don't know if there's anything else anyone wants to really know. We don't really have that many people watching. We only have 3 people watching. So yeah, that's basically what I really wanted to come on here and do is, talk about how I started, what I do, what I like doing. I like drawing, coloring, bringing people, tips and advice and videos and anything else that can help someone and, get a little thank you back, basically. And, if you want to put a little tip jar on my Patreon, you can totally do that. I would be forever grateful. Again, I'll put a link in my description once this is archived. But yeah, I think I'll leave you guys on that note, and I will see you guys next week on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I swear I'll be on time this time now that I know not to do it as I did it wrong. I didn't set up the encoder wrong, or the encoder right. So now that that's all set up and sorry, this is definitely my cue to get off because it keeps exiting it out. So I'm really hoping it's just because of the weather, and next week we won't really have an issue. So again, thank you for listening to me ramble about a bunch of stuff and, listening to my woes and my opinions on certain things, and I will see you all next week at the time and everything that I said, and I'll put everything in the description. And again, just thank you for being, my friends, fans, whatever, whoever's watching, thank you for watching. And I hope I can continue to bring you guys more content as long as I can hold a pencil in my hand. Alright guys, thanks. Bye. Have a great night.